Soul Tribe. I'm KamalaDevi.
I'm Sharmila.
And we are celebrating our 6-year polyversary. And as we were reflecting and harvesting, we wanted to share with you some of the insights. So we made this little, we're making this little conversation around, how we hold for each other's sensitivities and whose responsibility is that? Because that's the piece that we think we really have gotten down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like in 6 years of being in a relationship, like sensitivities or jealousies or whatever come up. And we were talking about how we actually approach them, and how we individually hold responsibility for those sensitivities that, like, for ourselves and for each other when they come up.
And we want to recognize, like, there's all kinds of different shapes of relationship. Mm-hmm. And this piece we felt was really universal. Like, this could be valuable in any form. Mm-hmm. And to say that, like, our form is super unique. Like, mm-hmm. we happen to both have primary, partners, long-term, deep, partners, mm-hmm. Who know and love each other, mm-hmm. and are part of a larger ecosystem.
Right.
So we have
support everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. We've got a whole network of poly lovers, really. And friends, and it's not all, sexually bonded, but a lot of it is. Mm-hmm. And just that 6 years we've been connecting emotionally, like very, very deep attunement on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. And then we see each other, like, we have a rhythm, mm-hmm. of at least monthly having, overnight dates, and both of us travel the world and, and then come together. And,
yeah, like we have like a regular monthly date that's on the calendar, so we know what's happening. And then we see each other when we're in town in between, or, mm-hmm. Whatever. Like, we spend time consistently, and we have something that we know even when we're not as available. It's there.
And I want to name that with all the other things, like, in the last 6 months, when something comes up for me emotionally, like, this is like my home base. This is what I call and tune in. And, mm-hmm. Connecting with you helps me kind of sequence the world. Yeah. So it's been a really beautiful dance, mm-hmm. even figuring out, like, how do we bring out the best in each other? Mm-hmm. And part of that is because I can trust you, mm-hmm. to tell me when things are sensitive or challenging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I can trust you to hear it, to empathize with me, to really hold for what my needs are in that, but also allow me to hold the parts that I can for my own growth. And so, like, you don't take my sensitivities away from me, but I know that if I have a need to ask you to slow something down, that's available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that feels like it goes both ways. Mm-hmm. The metaphor, this morning we were talking about how we're having coffee and you're not at your personal trainer's, which you go to regularly, mm-hmm. to work out in the gym. And and you want to share how personal trainer is kind of like, stretching you to grow.
Yeah. So, like, you go to a personal trainer because you want to grow, you want to get stronger, and it's their job to push you. But they're not in your body, and they're not feeling what you're feeling, and they're not feeling that today you might feel weaker, or, you're not fully in your body because you're in your head. And it's actually your responsibility in your own body to say, hey, this is too much for me today. And, that happens for us in relationship, where it's, if something comes up for me, it's my responsibility to say, hey, there's a little ouch, or there's a little weakness somewhere. And we can course correct according to that, so there's not actually an injury that happens.
Yeah. And as, in relationship, you're on the same team trying to grow, and stretch. And sometimes it is painful, and sometimes mm-hmm. it is like a lot of work or a lot of weight. And you need to rest sometimes and slow down. But also there's a way that, with a professional trainer, you can give your power away to mm-hmm. them. And that's dangerous. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're in a relationship, with someone who's a world-renowned expert, in my case, or in your case, your trainer is like a bodybuilding, like champion or, whatever it is. It's like, oh, they know better than I do. And then, if Sharmila were to give me more credit and think that I knew what she could handle, and I'm often like, hey, in 20 years of poly, let me show you what's possible. And she overstepped her own boundaries. She'd end up getting like a rotator cuff injury.
Yeah. And like I had a world-renowned like Cirque du Soleil trainer, and I was like, hey, my shoulder's not feeling quite right. And he's like, oh, keep going, you got this. And I injured my shoulder. And it was because I was like, oh, he knows what he's doing. He trains world professional whatevers. And like that was actually a deep lesson for me in no one's in my body and no one actually is in tune with my current capacity other than me. And it's my responsibility to share that if I want to get the best results.
Yeah. And you have to be humble to say like, hey, I know this is kind of embarrassing, or like pausing or slowing down for the moment might be hard, but this is what's necessary for me.
And particularly in poly, I think that we can have that thing of like jealousy is embarrassing and like insecurities are embarrassing. And like, I don't want to say no, or I don't want to admit that I'm feeling like I'm in a comparison with someone that you're seeing, or, and so like, it's actually taking the humility and the like reality of where I am and just coming and being like, hey, like this is actually feeling sensitive and I'm noticing that I'm making comparisons or whatever it happens to be. And also having trust that like, you're going to hold me in that and not make me feel like, well, why are you feeling jealous?
Right. It's like, okay, you're at your capacity. That's really tender. And thank you for sharing. And I know sometimes I don't want to tell you, to slow down or, that I'm challenged, because I feel like I would never, I value freedom so much and growth so much. I was like, never want to limit your freedom, never want to limit your growth. And therefore it's a value conflict. However, sometimes by, voicing that like, hey, I need to slow down because this is more than I can handle. It's almost like you go faster by slowing down. So we slow down, we attune, and then we can move together. Whereas if I injure myself, then I might be out in recovery for a long time, or like, really not mistrustful, or there'd be a deep rapport break. And I can say that in all of our years, in the 6 years, there's never really been a rapport break. We're constantly tending to that balance between pleasure and pain, and wanting to make sure
pleasure and growth.
Pleasure
and growth.
But growth, not pain, right?
Yeah.
But there's also that, there's got to be a piece of process. And you don't want to have like, oh, we have pleasure and we have so much process.
Right.
It's like you want to have a proportion that's mostly play and pleasure and love, and that's what we're really here for. So we're making sure that we're keeping that in a good balance.
Yeah, and I feel like there's this piece of it's our individual responsibility to share our limitations, and our partner like doesn't need to take it away. They don't need to make it better. And there are times when it's like, yes, things need to slow down, but it's not I'm not going to do that because I don't want to hurt them, and I'm afraid of the reaction and all of those things, when they're actually like, I can handle it and it's sensitive. It's more like, hey, let's move forward slowly and see, like let's not rush through this part that feels too much. And
when we're slowing down, it's with the kind of vow that, hey, we're slowing down so that I can grow and stretch in that direction. It's not like we're slowing down because we're going backwards.
Right.
It's more like we have a shared value for that growth. Yeah. And we know that, just like working out, it's hard. I don't like working out.
But it's also something you do all the time. And like, if you want to be building, like, it's not that you're like, oh, something feels hard, I'm just going to stop it now. It's like, something feels hard and I'm going to do a little less every single day until it doesn't feel hard.
Yeah.
So
that's our bit of a harvest for this morning anniversary. And we wanted to thank you for celebrating with us and hope that that inspires something in whatever kind of relationship you're in. Blessings, and we'll talk to you soon.